Today I'm joined by Debra Kwiat, a realtor based in Casa Grande who's been a go-to name inside Dobson Ranch, an active adult community where trust and relationships are everything. She's done 22 transactions this year, many right inside her own community, and her story of resilience, faith, and rebuilding is the kind that sticks with you. Debra, I am so glad you're here. For someone meeting you the first time, how would you describe what you do today and who you serve, really?
Well, first of all, thank you so much. I'm honored to be part of this podcast, and I hope that maybe I have a few nuggets that other realtors can kind of sink their teeth into if they're aiming for success in their business. So, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, the people that I cater to are people that are looking to retire. They're looking to begin living their best lives. I do live in an active adult community, so there is the requirement of the age of at least being 55. However, our development, I think it's an FHA requirement that 20% of our population can be 45 plus. They just can't have any kids under the age of 18 living with them. So I'm truly looking for people that are looking to begin that final chapter in their lives to live their best life, to enjoy their retirement years.
Great. Thank you for letting me know. I mean, that's definitely going to help kind of narrow down who to chat with. You didn't start in
Okay.
real estate though. You were in corporate marketing for a fitness company, right? So walk us through how that kind of turned into entrepreneurship.
It's a story. Um, So I back in 2005, I married a pastor who was not currently in ministry. And upon our union, he wanted to kind of get a little piece of the pie that I had at the time. I was working for a fitness company up in the Seattle area and for the corporate headquarters. And my position was office manager that led to marketing manager. I've always had a passion for being healthy and staying fit. And I loved being able to. I was a single mom at the time of two very small kids, 2 and 4 years of age, before I got married to my husband. And he wanted to be part of that. And I said, I don't want you to be part of that. I want you to go get your own church job. That's your gig. This is mine. And then I ended up rolling over a little bit and giving him permission because he wanted to not only be part of that company, he also wanted to open up a franchise of that company. And so we were quickly looking at becoming franchisees. I did not want my own business, but we chose to go forward with it because it's a faith-based fitness center. And it was almost an extension of where he left off inside the church that he unfortunately was removed from for personal reasons from his past life. Not his fault.
Gotcha.
Anyways, and so here we go. We begin this franchise, learning a lot. Also, 2 weeks after we signed on the dotted line, the economy fell, crashed. And the banks that were initially asking for 10% down for the $500,000 of fitness equipment, all of the tenant improvements, the build out of the building, just all of it. Our 130,000 investment was now looking like we needed to come up with 260,000, and we did not have it. We had just enough to get in. We squeaked our way through from the bottom floor. And so when that floor fell out, we were looking at trying to save this new business venture, and corporate was feeling the same way. They had to downsize. They lost things too. So it wasn't on them, it was on us. And they said, sorry, you guys, will support you as much as we can, but you guys have to just keep trying to go forward. And so through that, through those efforts, we were not paying ourselves. All the money we had coming in the door was to pay our employees and for our the startup costs. And then in 2012, my husband had a massive brain bleed, a brain aneurysm, and he was in a local grocery store. And he was airlifted to downtown Seattle to a prominent hospital there where we began that chapter in our lives. And he stayed there for 6 weeks, rehabilitating himself. Should not have lived, but he ended up really coming out of that unscathed eventually. It took about 3 years for him to finally kind of get right in the head. And so during that time, I was raising teenagers. And so I needed to get going. I had to go get 3 jobs, 3 part-time, 1 full-time and 2 other part-time jobs. And then I decided to start studying for the real estate exam. And this was in Washington State. Eventually, after a few tries, I passed the test. That's a hard test.
Yeah.
And so once you pass that test, you never want to lose your license because you don't want to have to get it again.
Sure.
And so then I started working for Coldwell Banker Bain in north of Seattle. I was there for about 5 years, 4 years, and then my husband got an invitation to relocate to Arizona to become a senior pastor at a church down here in Arizona. And through back and forth, the good, the positives and the negatives, let's make a list of all the good and all the bad, the pros and cons. We got down to my business. I'd finally gotten some momentum because in Washington, there's a lot of agents. So a lot of competition, trying to find my way through that, being able to, I should probably back up. We did eventually lose our business, lost our home, lost the business, filed bankruptcy because of my husband's multi-million dollars of medical bills that we didn't have any medical insurance because we couldn't afford it because everything we had was going back into the business. So that's where I began those 3 different jobs. And while he was at home rehabilitating, and then I studied for the exam. So fast forward, I'm now getting my feet underneath me with my real estate business. My first year, I did 9 transactions and was tapping into our reputation and our client base from the fitness center that we had, our business, to give me a little bit of a head start because we already were well known in the community and we were trusted. And so people felt like they can trust me with this transaction, even though I was newer in the industry. And so then now we're looking at the possibility of moving to Arizona, finally get some positive movement with my business. I really didn't want to relocate, but with the positive and negative, and we got down to the career, and I said my 5 was, this is really important. I said my career is at least a 4, maybe a 4.5. It's really important to me. And he said, and I looked at him, I said, yeah, but getting into ministry is more of a calling. So I think you win, I lose. So I decided to reinvent myself while holding on to my Washington license. I took those steps in 2020 to get my exam. Oh, the dreaded exam, to get my license down here in Arizona as well as Washington. So a couple tries, I got my license, and it was a weird time because COVID had just shut everything down. So we moved to Arizona January 1st of 2020. And then 2 months later, the economy, or just everything shut down due to COVID. And so I didn't even know where to go to get my license. Like, who do I call? Which entity's open? What state? How do I do this?
Yeah.
Is there any reciprocity for being licensed in one state and then coming to the other state? What would be required? No, there was no answers because nobody was open. Eventually I got that. And we also, in the meantime, found a place to live down in Arizona, which is where I live now. It's called Robeson Ranch, and it's just outside of Casa Grande, Arizona. It's kind of we call it our bubble because outside of our bubble, it's pretty rural. It's pretty remote. There's nothing fancy, but our community is stunning. So, and it offers all of the lifestyle wishes that anybody would want, whether you're crafty or sporty or library, card player, swimming, whatever it is. We have it, golf, we have it all. And so I soon became enamored with this community. And I thought, oh my gosh, I love this lifestyle. And if I can turn people on to this lifestyle through real estate, it's going to be gangbusters. And so I just immersed myself into all things community, got to know a lot of people. My husband did start a church inside our community, as well as the church that he was the senior pastor that he was called down to serve at. And so we were known on so many different areas and different facets in this community really quickly, becoming, having a reputation, a good reputation, and people knowing who we were. It really lent to the success that I saw with my business. And so I have been practicing here inside Robeson Ranch on the resale side for about 4 years. I did jump into the office prior to being a resale agent and worked for the new construction, new builds for about 5 months. And so I was able to learn how they built the homes here. So I can speak from a construction standpoint, from a quality standpoint, being able to identify what upgrades are, what's, the builder standard materials. And I think that I became more of an expert along with being a champion for this community. So I think those are the two things that have really proven to be successful for my business growth.
Yeah, so quite a story, and I appreciate you sharing all that. When you look back at tough time that you went through, what do you think that season taught you specifically about like leadership and risk taking?
Well, I've always been somebody who just jumps in. I probably should think a little bit more than I do, but I just jump in and just take a chance. I just take a chance in something that I believe in, and persevering and not giving up is it's always been my motto with my kids growing up. You don't ever give up. You just keep pushing forward. You can't quit a sport. If you sign up for a sport during school, you finish. And so that was my motto too. It's like, okay, I can't give up. And so this last year, this is where the story gets tough. On December 29th of last year, my husband passed away.
Mm,
And life has looked really different for me, not old. And so I'm kind of falling into that category of too old to be young and too old to be a widow, or too young to be a widow. And so now I feel in my 50s like, oh my gosh, now what do I do? I've got how many more years left here? How am I going to do this on my own? And he did not leave me any life insurance
mm,
because of his underlying medical issues that he had. And so it's all up to me. And there was no investments because we were just restarting our lives after his brain aneurysm. So we didn't have the nest egg. We didn't have all the investments. So it really was falling on me. And people have asked me if I was going to get multiple jobs. And I said, I can't. I have to stay focused on what I'm doing. The worst thing I could do is take my focus off of my business. And that's one of the things I did in the very beginning when in Washington State is having so many different jobs divided my attention, which did not help in the building of my business. You just have to stay committed and do whatever it takes to drum up the business.
yeah, yeah. I'd be remiss if I didn't say condolences. That's
Thank
still
you.
fresh. I think anybody watching, his heart's with you too. And Yeah, that's a lot of trial and adversity to go through, and you've persevered and stayed the course. And you said something powerful too. Washington, you'd been on a regular street, but you're in a bubble now with a community.
Yeah.
How has that community helped you with not just your real estate business? I mean, that's great, but also having a community around you with some of these major life events that are going on. How's that helped, or maybe changed the way things would have gone if and when maybe you lost your husband when you lived in Washington as opposed to where you live now? Has it been an easier process having a community around you?
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Even though when he did have his aneurysm, we did live on that regular street in Washington. We had such an amazing outpouring of love and support from everybody in our community, even inside our fitness center. They held a silent auction for us, raised $25,000
Wow.
to us. It was happening behind the scenes. And then, but then, it quickly kind of dissipated. There was no more people interested in supporting because they feel like you've moved on and everybody's okay. And nobody could tell on the inside that my husband was not okay. And so I was still in caregiver mode for him, raising two kids and building my business and having these part-time jobs. It was a lot.
Yeah.
And so um, I think people just saw that I was able to manage all of it. And so they just felt like I was good. But here inside this community here in Arizona, I cannot tell you how it's almost been overwhelming to the point where sometimes I don't want to leave my house because it causes anxiety
Mm,
because everybody wants a piece of me. They want to hug me. They want to just see how I'm doing. They want to give me things, food or gifts or whatever it is. And so it really has been overwhelming, but it has lent to even greater success. People are now wanting to take care of the widow, and they also have that we already have that built-in trust within this community with each other. We spend so much time in community all the time, every day. After this, I'm going to play cards. So I mean,
perfect.
every day is an opportunity to sink yourself into a community. I play softball on co-ed teams. I have a banner out there on the softball field. I have a golf cart because that's what happens when you live in an active adult community. And I have my sign on the back of my golf cart just everywhere I go. Pickleball, softball, the pool, fitness classes. Everybody sees where I'm at. And it helps when I have an interesting last name because people are like, you look familiar, your name,
Say
I've
it
seen your
again in case
name.
I messed it up.
Kwat.
Quack. There we
It
go.
used to be Kwiatkowski. Apparently, back in the 60s, you can cut off part of your name legally. And so it's now Kwat. So
Gotcha.
it's a Polish name.
No, you're
But
really
anyways,
you're really
it
immersing
really,
our. I'm sorry. What?
I was just going to say, it really truly has been a game changer being in a community where you can carve out a name, a reputation, friendships. People have even asked, are you going to move out of Robeson Ranch? And I said, there's no way. I'm not moving back to Washington because my business is here and I've got so much forward momentum. I do get some crossover with the Washingtonians. However, our community, it has more Washingtonians representing this community than any other state.
Hey,
And
hey.
I know why. It could be the stuff that falls from the sky
Right.
about 10 months of the year.
It's
And
not
so I just
38
tell
and
everybody,
freezing rain.
what's that?
It's not 38 and freezing rain in Arizona. So yeah.
No, no, it's not. Although it is 38 degrees in the morning,
Right.
where
Different 38
people
though. You don't have to shovel.
different 38, yeah. And then it's, mid 70, high 70s in the afternoon. So it's just stunning. And so I love being surrounded by sunshine and smiles every day.
So a realtor, a real estate agent watching this that has seen you really immerse yourself, not just in working a neighborhood necessarily, but like you're really part of that community.
Mhm.
What advice do you give them on building relationships without it being too salesy?
I think well, for me in this particular setting, I think it's really immersing myself in the in the in the lifestyle and really participating in all the things that the community has to offer, not with a sales objective, but always keep a business card on you just in case, but just go and have fun and become one of your community members and just build those relationships. I think the trust comes from somebody who is authentic, who is having fun, who's normal, who's not trying to sell them anything except for a lifestyle. I don't want to sell homes. I want to sell a lifestyle and I want to eventually become, well, I want to be the community expert. I want to know all the nuances with the HOA. I want to know the social culture, the amenities, the buyer motivations. I just want to be a resource, not just before they find a home, but even after they find a home. And it makes me feel really confident knowing, again, going back to watching the construction, from that all the way to the resale side and everything in between, and then the lifestyle. There's just so much. It's just me becoming an expert and truly being the expert. I am not posing.
No, absolutely. So you said when we talked before, this is God's business. I'm just the ambassador.
Absolutely.
Speak to somebody that is a person of faith that is grieving and going through a hard life transition right now. What would you say to that person when they're trying to build a business? Because you've been there very recently, and I'm sure those emotions are still very fresh. What kept you going? What would you say to a person that's in that place right now?
Well, it feeds my soul knowing that I am able to bring a positive lifestyle, a sense of belonging, um, sense of community. Now that I'm alone, I don't feel alone. And that's one of the most debilitating emotions I have had out of this past year is the loneliness. Even though I'm surrounded by a bunch of, 2,000 people, um, I know I'm not alone. I know if as soon as I step outside those doors, I am greeted with hugs and smiles and support. But I would say, like what you mentioned, I've always leaned on the fact that this is God's business. I have to give it to Him because there's so many areas of disappointment and discouragement when, whether it be friends or family, even friends inside this community that I do a lot of life with, and they go with a different agent.
Mm,
That's probably one of the toughest things that
yep.
real estate agents have to deal with. And because they don't want it to mess up your relationship, it's like, well, now you've totally messed up the relationship. But I do have to, I give it up to God. I'm like, okay, they didn't choose me and it must be for some reason. I don't want to work with anybody unequally yoked. I want this to be a perfect pairing because I really truly view these clients as future friends. and they become part of my friendship family, not just a client. And so once I give it up to God and just say, this is your business, this is not mine. I know that these people were not chosen for me. I'm excited for who you have chosen for me to partner with next. And it really gives me a peace of mind. It just recenters me. I don't run around here with animosity. I know that he's got something else waiting for me. So I just lean into that.
I love that. It's definition of faith-based business right there is
Yeah.
know you've got something else
Yep.
waiting for you. And you said something I've
And
never quite, yes, what?
and I've had the most successful year that I've ever had in real estate.
Hey, let's
Yay.
go.
I've been a single diamond winner for the last 3 years in a row. And this year I am officially a double diamond winner. So God has been taking, thank you.
That's
God
awesome.
has been totally providing through this year, which it was such a big unknown of how I was going to do this. And I'm more successful than ever. I can't even believe it. It's
That
amazing.
is beautiful. Beautiful. You deserve it.
Yes. Thank you.
And one thing you phrased, and I never heard it phrased this way, was you tithe to the people sometimes by lowering your commission. And I know that's kind of a taboo subject with realtors, but
Yes.
I've never quite heard it say that in that way. Where does that come from?
I've never been a materialistic person, and I've come from very humble beginnings from childhood and now facing more despair. I've just never been caught up in any monetary type of things. I don't know. I feel strongly about just getting the people into the home. They're excited about it. Some people can't completely pull it off financially and they're just barely squeaking in, and I just feel like, oh my gosh, if I can just lower my commission 0.5% or 1%, and it may not even be enough for them financially to help, but they see what I'm doing,
The
and
effort. Yeah.
it just creates more trust with them, and they know I am not just there for a transaction. And I think that it bodes well when you give back to people, because that's what we're supposed to give. That's what we're supposed to do anyways. We're called to take care of others and love on others. And I do that through my business. And I know that is taboo because a lot of people don't want me to discount my self-worth or my value. And I just think, yeah, but there's value when you're also paying it forward to people too. So it
And it
works.
seems like it's working. Like you said, this has been your best year you've ever had, double diamond after being a single diamond for 3 years running.
Yeah, I know.
What do you think changed in you? Because you don't suddenly just all of a sudden like wake up one day and like, oh, I made it. This is perfect. This is great, right? There's a lot of trials and building that go into it, just like working out or having a fitness regimen. You don't start
Yeah.
from being out of shape to being in shape the next day. So what changed this year, do you think? Besides maybe the obvious that what happened last December?
Well, I think it's just number one, giving it to God, because
Mm,
this is going into this year, January 1st, even December 30th, worst days of my life. And I was probably juggling 3 transactions during that time. It was almost too much for me because my head was swimming. And, anybody that has faced this type of grief, you get brain fog, there's confusion, making decisions. It was tough to go through all of these transactions, really staying centered and making sure I'm taking care of my clients the best that I can, even though I might have been having a really hard day. But it goes back to just trusting that God's going to hold me and carry me and just take care of me. And so I think that is the number one key. And then just persevering, pushing through, continuing to put myself out there. There were times I just wanted to stay in bed for weeks.
yeah.
Every single day, I wanted to stay in bed and just cry, but I couldn't because I had bills to pay. And so I guess it was a good thing that there was no life insurance policy waiting for me, because it really held me to the fire. Like, I have to keep getting out there. And so people saw that and they really appreciated me just continuing to be there for their clients. And so I think that resonates with somebody within the community that's looking to hire an agent because they might be looking to sell, and they see the year that I've had and how I continue to go out there and serve my clients. I'm on the top of their list of people to call.
As you should be. Like you said, you
Thank you.
walk that fire, and you also have a heart for people. They're not just numbers or stats to you. You
No.
genuinely care, and it comes across and it shows. So fast forward into the future, way down the line, like way down the line. You're like 115 at this
Okay.
point. You finally go home to meet Jesus. We're all at your celebration of life. What do you want people to say about Debra?
that I helped them fulfill dreams, that I was trustworthy, that I had unending energy for them. I never gave up on them, that I continued to be there for them. But more than anything else, just being courageous and just persevering. That's my crown. That's the crown I want to wear, is not giving up, and not giving up on people, not giving up on my business, not giving up on my faith. All of those things have been really hard this last year, but I knew that I had to see it through because I knew I was gifted in this field. And my sister, who's also passed away, she told me when I was in the field years ago, she said, "This is the perfect field for you." And she goes, "I've always felt like you would be a great real estate agent." I think that I just come across as being so transparent and so honest and empathetic. Now that I have even more life experiences, I can really meet people where they're at in any season of life. I mean, now what else? What else
You
do I
have
need to
the
face?
full spectrum, and you can see it on both sides of it, which is fantastic.
Yes.
I appreciate you so much for getting
Thank you.
personal and sharing it. I know these are not easy things to talk about, but I also think it's really important for people to not just see the business side of things, but also the personal side of things, especially with you and what you've had to overcome. There should be your picture next to the definition of perseverance in the dictionary of, yeah, this is Debra. If you want to know what perseverance looks like embodied, go see Debra.
Thank you. Yeah. And I
Thank
think
you
that
so much. What? I'm sorry. You
I
go.
was going to say, I think my business grows because my clients feel cared for and they don't feel sold to. I think that, and I just heard that this last weekend. They said, "Well, we met with so and so, didn't sign anything, but we just really like you and your energy and your honesty." I tell everybody the facts. There's a train, a very busy train. Do you want your house to be by this train? I don't want to hide anything from anybody. So I think they see that. They can feel it.
Authenticity you can't fake, right? And
No.
I think when you're real with people and you're authentic with them and you connect with them, they pick that up. They might not understand real estate, right? They might not know the inner workings of the legal process with real estate or this, that, and the other thing, but they know how the vibe that's coming across. And I think you being able to really connect with someone on a personal level makes you so valuable, not just in real estate, but really in your community, Deborah, to be able to
Yeah.
have those relationships and build those and have the impact that you're looking to have. I think you're killing it, lady. You're doing a great
Thank
job.
you. Thank you. I'm proud of myself. Pat,
Yes,
pat, pat.
as you should be.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on today. Listeners, thank you
You're
so much
welcome.
for joining us. Please like and subscribe for more in-depth real estate knowledge. Once again, I'm Jared Sawyer. Goodbye and take care.
Bye.